Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollins High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Alright, welcome back. In the last tutorial we went ahead and set up this really nifty IK handle that we can kind of grab from anywhere, and we can move it, we can twist it, and we can even have the toes lift up or down, rolling left and right, and twisting left and right. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and zero these back out. But you may notice there's one small problem with our current rig, and that's when we move our foot, or at least when I move my foot, my knee kind of does this bending inward thing. Now, if your knee does this little P dance, if it goes inward or outward, that just means your knee joint is not bent. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's go back, zero this out. Whenever you set up an IK system, the controller or the solver tries to take the natural curve in the system as a point of influence. So if I go into my side view and I look at the relationship between the hip down to the ankle, you'll notice that the curve the knee has no curve to it. See that? The knee is straight. And that means that the IK does not know what to do with this joint. So what we have to do is move this joint forward, but we can't just move it forward because it's currently bound to our skin. So we're going to have to unbind and straighten that out. If your knee is bending forward, then you can skip this part to the next, which is making the knee controller. Anyway, I'm going to grab the skeleton, grab the skin. I'm going to go down to, or up to skin, unbind, options. And this time I'm going to keep history because I do have skin weights on. And I'll hit detach. And the other thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to kill the IK handle between the hip and the ankle. So I'm going to select that, make sure it's the left ankle IK, just hit delete. The reason is we won't be able to move the knee unless we remove that handle. So go ahead and grab the knee on both. Press the insert key. And I'm going to do this from the side view so I can see how much bend I've got. I'm just going to pull this forward just a tad to give a little bit of a flex between the hip and this part right down here. Okay. Now you don't want to pull this all the way out, because you do want this to be relatively the center of mass, but I'm just going to give it some bend. And that should be enough to do that. I'm going to put my IK handle back on. So I go up here, grab my IK handle, dink, dink. Go ahead and rename that. L underscore ankle underscore IK. And if I grab that IK and I lift it up, it should bend relatively forward, which is the goal in this case. I'm going to jump back into the outliner, so to view, bring up the outliner, or sorry, bring up my hypergraph. Select my IK, and then in my hypergraph window, press F to frame up. And all I'm going to do, because we deleted this off, you'll notice that under our left foot lift group, there's no longer an IK handle. I'm just going to middle mouse click, that's the mouse wheel, middle mouse click and drag that to that group, and you'll see it pop back in there. So now it's back to where it was. We should be able to move our IK by moving the group. Okay. And now we can go ahead and reattach our skeleton. So skeleton, skin, we'll go ahead and bind. And just check to make sure it's working. It should. Yay. And the knee is bending forward. Now that knee is bending forward, we can set up the knee controller. So all we're going to do from here is create some sort of icon or item for the knee to be controlled by. A lot of people use curves or polygons or whichever. You can make your own. I'm going to be fancy. I'm going to draw my own to be different. I think I'm going to do go into a top view. I think I will draw like a little star thingy. So I'm going to go here. Yay, there's my curve, there's my handle. With my new little handle, I'm going to center the pivot. So with it selected, I'm going to go up to Modify, and then Center Pivot. That's going to snap it to the middle. And then I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in the X. That way it's pointing forward. Here's my little starfish knee thing. And then I'm going to snap this to the knee. I'm going to hold down the V key and then snap to the knee joint. Let's go ahead and make sure that's snapped to the joint. Once it is, we're going to pull it out straight. Give it a good distance because when your knee bends, you don't want it to hit your controller. So I'm going to pull it out a good distance. That should be far enough. And the next thing I want to do is I want to set up the IK handle so that it's able to accept the pole vector. So the way this works is this object is going to control the handle so that it points to this object. That way our knee doesn't get all wonky and weird. So select your handle. So make sure you have the left ankle IK. And open up the attributes. That's this little button here. What we're looking for is the Ika Handle Solver. So IK Solver attributes. There we go. That one. And you want to make sure that your IK Solver is set to Rotate Plane Solver. Maya tends to set this to Single Chain Solver by default. If yours is Single Chain Solver, make sure you hit Rotate Plane Solver. You may notice it jumps or whatever. You'll just have to dial in a twisting value, but you'll see that in a minute. With this set to Rotate Plane Solver, I am going to select my controller, and I'm going to select my ankle IK, and then I'm going to go up to Constraint. Inside Constraint, go down to Pole Vector. When you hit Pole Vector, you may notice your leg doing something like this. Mine flipped 180 degrees behind. If that happens, just go down here to Twist, and our attributes, go to Twist, and just type in 180. And hit Enter. That'll flip it back around. So now when we move our leg, you see the knee points to our little star thing, and if I move the star, it angles the knee. Okay? Alright. I'm going to go back into my channel box, and I'm going to make sure that my star has a name, so I'm going to go ahead and name it. This is going to be L_knee control. And I want to zero out these values. If I don't zero them out, then when I try to figure out where it was last, it's going to be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to go up to Modify, go down to Freeze Transforms. And that should give us all that we need as far as the pole vector. Looking good. So the last thing to do when setting up a pole vector is making sure that it will always move with our knee. There's a dozen different ways of doing this, but the simplest way is to parent this to the handle down here. But we don't want to parent this directly. We want to parent a group of this. So I'm going to hit Control G. Control G creates a group. I'm going to go ahead and name that group L underscore knee CTRL control group. And I'm going to parent the group of the knee to the handle. So with the group selected, select the handle, and then hit P. So now wherever this leg moves, our control should move with it. See that? So if I bend the knee up, you can see the little control here. I can move that and still pivot my knee. Okay? And that should pretty much cover it in this video. In the next video, we're going to go over how to set up the control for the arm. Okay? And make sure that you do the same thing for your right leg. Don't forget to go over there and do that. We do have two legs after all. And I will see you guys in the next video.